This is the Mets Postcast, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The New York Mets rallied to pick up the series sweep off of the San Francisco Giants and won their 7th game in a row. Welcome into the Mets Postcast here, the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I'm your Postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. And the good times, keep on rolling for the New York Mets. They battled back in this one, a rally with a pair of runs in the 7th, an insurance run in the 9th, and they defeat the San Francisco Giants by a final score of 5-3. And I think you can make the argument that the Mets played 3 different games this series, and that's what we'll be talking about to start tonight's postcast.
This is what you'll be talking about.
On Friday night, it was a huge night for the offense, scoring 8 runs in a 8-1 win over the Giants. Last night, it was more of a pitcher's duel, finding a way to win, resting on the defense and the fundamentals. And tonight, it was more of a back-and-forth affair leading to the series sweep and leading to the Mets' 7th straight win. And the thing that I would be most encouraged about here, if I was all of us Mets fans, is the Mets played 3 games this weekend, and they won in 3 different ways. There was one common theme throughout. It was the bullpen. We'll get to that here in just a second. But the Mets found a way to win all 3 of these games and did it in 3 different ways. It was Kodai Senga on the mound tonight for the Mets. And while I guess we would classify this as a better start than the 3-inning outing he had his last time out, not really the positive step that I think we all wanted to see from Kodai Senga. Finished the day, 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 earned ones. And the stat that really stands out is the 5 walks. Just did not have the command, made a couple of mistakes to Matt Chapman, and you can't make mistakes to a hitter like Matt Chapman. He was responsible for the 3 runs that the Giants were able to score. And so after his last start, I said, we'll give him a mulligan. We'll give him a chance to figure things out in his second start after that one, and just didn't have it tonight. Just did not have his best stuff. And through 92 pitches, in the 5 innings, ERA went up to 2. And so now with 2 starts in a row, with it being a little shaky, with the command not being there, I don't want to say that I am going to be fully concerned about Kodai Senga. Again, there's a bigger, larger sample size of him being able to be dominant, but there is a growing, concerning trend here with Kodai Senga. And maybe it's him slowly ramping himself back up. He is adding that cutter to his arsenal. You saw it a little bit there tonight. And so maybe he's trying to work through those things, perhaps, maybe, but just not what you want to see from Kodai Senga. You expect him to be a guy that can go out there and give you 6, 7, even into the 8th innings and be dominant and strike out a bunch of guys. And we really haven't seen that version of Kodai Senga in a little bit. So file it away. It was better than that 3-inning start, but not the start that I think we all needed to make us feel like we can flush that one and forget about it as just a blip on the radar. Not necessarily a blip on the radar. The offense was the bottom of the lineup doing the damage. 8 of the Mets' 12 hits came from 4 guys. Jeff McNeil, Starling Marte, Francisco Alvarez, and Ronny Mauricio combined for 8 of the Mets' 12 hits. 4 of the Mets' 12 hits came from their starting third baseman tonight, Ronny Mauricio. He went 4 for 4, a pair of doubles, the home run into McCovey Cove, also hit a single, finished just a triple short of the cycle in easily his best day as a New York Met. And if the Mets are going to start to get these contributions regularly from Francisco Alvarez, who had a nice night with 2 hits, from Ronny Mauricio, who had a great day at the plate, also looked good defensively, as Michael pointed out in the YouTube chat. If they're going to start to get these contributions, Starling Marte continues to hit the cover off the balls, almost hitting 290 this season. If they're going to be regular contributors to this lineup, man, you start to really dream of what this team can be able to do, because on a night where the top part of your lineup struggled, Lindor goes 0 for 5, Nimmo only has 1 hit, Pete goes 0 for 5. I think we said this earlier this week in the postcasts. If the top of the lineup's not doing anything, you don't expect the Mets to win. Well, they're now starting to get those contributions from the bottom part of the lineup, and that's really something that can get us all excited. And again, that's why I really want to note that the Mets won 3 different ways this weekend. The one common thread being the bullpen, but 3 different games. Big offensive night on Friday, a pitcher's duel, doing the little things last night, and this game coming back, battling, back and forth affair in a grinded out type game. They were able to rally in the 7th and then adding the insurance run in the 9th inning. So when the Mets are able to win in a bunch of different ways, they're able to do a lot of different things to help them win baseball games. That's when you can really start to get the confidence back for this squad. And again, 7 wins in a row, a full game and a half lead over the Philadelphia Phillies, who lost today to the Yankees in the finale of their series. So everything right now coming up for the New York Mets. The bullpen usage was a big question mark in this game tonight. Gregory Soto got to make his Mets debut. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Edwin Diaz's 9th inning. The one positive sign from Edwin Diaz's 9th inning. We'll talk about that, what it means for tomorrow when they start their series against the San Diego Padres, and your thoughts. Always welcome here on the Mets Postcast. We'll get to all of it here on the other side. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. There's a category maybe you want to keep an eye on spending-wise, takeout or subscriptions. Monarch Money is going to help you be able to see how much that adds up to every month. Having all of this stuff in one app, easier to manage your money day to day. Perhaps you share finances with someone else. Monarch helps you stay on the same page. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Day Hue. Game Day Hue makes clean, no logo gear with team-inspired colorways for every pro and college fan base. It's about letting your colors speak for you. No giant logos, just smart, versatile style that works on game day, on the course, or anywhere in between. Their hats pair perfectly with my usual gear. Doesn't replace your team's logo, just adds to the lineup. And it's not just the hats. Check out their split shade glove made for the golf course. The perfect gift for the fan who has everything. Right now, you can get 15% off with code MLB15 at GameDayHue.com. That's GameDayHue.com. The code even stacks on bundle deals, so now is the time to load up. Let your colors talk, because colors speak louder than words. That's GameDayHue.com, code MLB15. Back here on the Mets Postcast, Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed, recapping the Mets finishing off the sweep, getting the brooms out in the Bay Area, defeating the San Francisco Giants 5-3. They rallied for 2 runs in the 7th. Ronny Mauricio hits the game-tying home run, a splashdown into McCovey Cove. Then Juan Soto takes one to the opposite field on one of the best relievers in the game, Randy Rodriguez, for the San Francisco Giants. Mets added an insurance run after a Mauricio double in the 9th, set up Nimmo to drive him home, or Acuna home, as the pinch runner. A much-needed insurance run here for the Mets in that 9th inning as they win 5-3. It was a bit of adventure for Edwin Diaz there in the 9th inning. 25 pitches, walked 2 guys, hit a batter. This is just kind of the Edwin Diaz experience. I think we've all just come to expect that there are going to be games, stretches of time where Diaz kind of plays with his food a little bit, can't have the command always of that fastball. Maybe that slider's got a little too much bite, gets himself into these situations, but does a great job working out of it. And again, the reason why he's able to work out of these jams is because he just overpowers you. This dates back to his All-Star game appearance a couple of weeks ago. He's starting to dial up the radar gun. Early in the season, his fastball, 96, 97 maybe, is where it would top out. Tonight, topping out at 98, 99 on the regular. He's starting to find that little extra gear. And I don't know this for a fact. I am not part of the scouting report and how they have worked with Edwin Diaz this season, but I do wonder if maybe there was a plan of him kind of leaving some gas left in the tank for the second half of the season. And now he's got that extra juice in that fastball and he's dialing it up here in the second part of the season because he was not touching 98, 99 regularly in the first half. He is certainly doing it here in the second half. The bullpen, 3 days, all zeros. Just an excellent return to form for this bullpen. This is a group that is looking like the group that carried the New York Mets in the first couple months of the season. How many times did we come on these postcasts and talk about bullpen did it again, just threw up a bunch of zeros, came in the 6th inning, 12 outs, just did their job. Reed Garrett, Ryan Stanek, Edwin Diaz, Max Kranick, Huascar Brosman. We would just list these guys off, and they just showed up every single night. It's what they did tonight. First, it was Jose Butto coming in, giving the Mets one solid scoreless inning. It was Gregory Soto making his Mets debut, and boy, did he look like just a huge addition to this bullpen. A lefty from that side that throws 97 with some sink, threw a sweeper a little more tonight. I think that's by design. Also threw that traditional slider, but mixed both breaking pitches in there. And I thought had the life on that sinker, had some real good life on that sweeper, and just had a really nice inning for the New York Mets. And first chance to be used by Carlos Mendoza and this Mets team, thrust it into, I don't know if we want to say a super high leverage spot, medium leverage, somewhat high leverage situation there in the 7th inning of a game that the Mets had taken the lead. So 4-3, so protecting a lead. Just a really nice job from Gregory Soto. Reed Garrett came in. He got 2 outs. The Mets turned to Brooks Raley for 1 out. And then it was Edwin Diaz there in the 9th inning. And that leads to stuff to keep an eye on here as we will start to get ready for tomorrow's game, as the Mets will start a 3-game set with San Diego tomorrow night. The usage of the bullpen was something I was keeping an eye on after Senga left this game because last night, Reed Garrett was used, Ryan Stanek was used, Edwin Diaz was used. The Mets don't have an off day tomorrow. I was going to be very intrigued once the Mets took the lead in the 7th inning, how Carlos Mendoza was going to utilize his pen because any of the guys that he used last night that he went to today, you would assume are burned for tomorrow, not going to be available. Now, you worry about Monday, tomorrow night. You worry about that game as it plays out in San Diego on Monday. But it was something that I was keeping an eye on, and using Edwin Diaz definitely means he's not available tomorrow, especially when he throws 25 pitches. So you can cross his name off the list. You can cross Reed Garrett's name off the list. Ryan Stanek was the reliever that the Mets held back, but Soto could be able to work 2 days in a row. Brooks Raley could be used to work 2 days in a row. He had 3 days since his last appearance. So the Mets now, because of the Soto addition, because Brooks Raley is back and healthy, because Ryan Stanek has found himself as of late, the Mets have a bunch of guys that they can turn to in these medium to high leverage situations. And so even on a night where you burn Diaz for the second straight day, you use Garrett for the second straight day, and both those guys are not going to be available tomorrow. You're still going to have Soto potentially available tomorrow, Brooks Raley available tomorrow, Huascar Brosman should be available tomorrow, and you kept Ryan Stanek back, and so he could potentially be your closer in the 9th inning tomorrow if need be. So you still feel like even though it's the B squad, quote unquote, they're able to have some high leverage arms if they are able to have a lead late in that game when Frankie Montas takes the bump. So the bullpen, obviously something to keep an eye on, and I love the way Mendoza managed this game tonight. Not afraid to use Brooks Raley, not afraid to use Reed Garrett after he worked last night. Obviously, you're going to use your closer in Edwin Diaz, but just, I think, another great job by Carlos Mendoza utilizing all of these guys, and a great debut, a great first impression for Gregory Soto as the newest member of the New York Mets bullpen. Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor combined to go 0 for 10. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll just monitor it. I mean, Lindor had been having a really hot bat over the last couple of days after snapping that 0 for 31 streak. So I'm not going to be too worried about it. Pete, I worry about an 0 for 5 starting another slump for him. But again, easy to just kind of flush this one. You win the game. You've won 7 in a row. You're back in first place with a 1.5 lead over the Philadelphia Phillies. Just flush it and see what this team's able to do tomorrow. I saw somebody mention it. David said, time to start Beatty, Mauricio, and McNeil in center field every day. Taylor is an automatic out. Well, and this is now potentially the thing that we'll leave this program on. As the Mets finish up this series in San Francisco, they finish up with a sweep. They've won 7 games in a row. It's trade deadline week. Thursday is the trade deadline. And so the Mets have firmly put themselves in a really nice position over these next couple of days to make some more moves, probably add a couple of more bullpen arms, and maybe get a bat. I saw a report this morning from Bob Nightingale that Luis Robert, if the White Sox would trade him to the Mets, they want Mark Vientos back in that trade. I would not do that if I was the Mets. That I would say no to that. I would walk away from that. But if the Mets are going to make an upgrade for this lineup, that does feel like the place that they would do it. No, it feels like with the way Mauricio has been playing, the way Beatty has been playing, even Vientos has shown signs, you feel like you're going to be able to get enough from third base and or second base, whether you use McNeil or Beatty or Acuna or however you try to configure those guys. You feel like you're going to get enough from those positions. If there's going to be an upgrade, it certainly feels like it would be out there in center field. I just don't know how many high-quality options are going to, one, be available, and two, the Mets are going to be comfortable paying that price to go out and get that reliever, or that outfielder, I should say. I just don't know. I don't know if the Mets are going to really want to dip into the top end of their prospect pool to make a splash for a center fielder. It certainly feels more like they're just going to continue to get better on the margins, just like they did last year at the deadline. Add a couple of bullpen arms, maybe a starter for the rotation that they love becomes available, and they trade for him, although Seth Lugo go off the board after he signed an extension with the Royals while the game was going on. So just the beginning of what's going to be a very chaotic week. So the stuff to keep an eye on, your Twitter notifications, your Jeff Passan alerts. Don't fall for any of the fake trade reports that get put out there, but it does feel like a week where the Mets are going to be at the center of a lot of this stuff. And they're at the center of the baseball world right now because they have won 7 games in a row. They just took 3 from the San Francisco Giants. They're going to keep things rolling as they go into San Diego, take on the San Diego Padres for a 3-game set before returning home to take on the Giants again, playing a lot of the Giants. And so they'll look to keep the ball rolling. And boy, does this feel good after what we all went through in June on these postcasts every single night, discussing the Mets not being able to get out of their own way, not being able to hit, the rotation falling apart, the bullpen falling apart. It feels good that the end of July here, the script is flipped and the Mets are playing some of their best baseball so far this season, and feels really good for them to be playing their best ball as they go into the trade deadline and as the calendar is about to flip to August and September, and the run is on. The postseason push is on, and so it feels really good to see the Mets play this well. That is going to do it for us here on this edition of the Mets Postcast, as the Mets pick up a sweep, 7th win in a row. They'll go for 8 tomorrow with Frankie Montas on the mound, going in the opener of this series against the San Diego Padres. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so that you are notified when we go live after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. If you're listening to us over in the podcast feed, join us live each and every day that the Mets play. The moment the game is over, I push that go live button, and you can hang out with all of us here for instant reactions after every single Met game throughout the course of the season. Ronny Mauricio has his best day at the plate as a New York Met. The Mets bullpen continues to be absolutely excellent, and the Mets finish off a sweep of the San Francisco Giants to win their 7th game in a row. We are back right here tomorrow to break down the opener of the series against the San Diego Padres when Frankie Montas takes the mound. Have a good one, Mets fans.